Jew's story is written by Paul Zacharia. Paul Zacharia is a Malayalam short story writer, novelist, and essayist. He is known for writing stories that deal with social issues, but in a matter of fact way. His works have been translated into English and other languages. He has also been awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award and Katha Award. Ju is a young girl who lives with her mother. Her father had been killed in a tragic accident a few years ago. Her mother is a domestic help, and so many of the things that Ju uses textbooks, school bags, lunchbox, and umbrella are second hand. However, Ju looks after all her things well and is a cheerful and practical girl. Ju never thought of the gifts she received as being old. They were entering her life for the first time and therefore they were brand new as far as she was concerned. As far as she was concerned means from her point of view. She felt as if she were making new friends. That was why she did not cross out the names of the original owners of the books. Before writing her own name, which was P.R. Manju, Poomarathil Ramu Manju. Poomarathil was her family name, meaning upon the flowering tree. Ramu was her father's name. This year, Manju was moving up to class 8, division B. Everyone called her Ju because that's how her mother called her. Ju thought her mother rationed her name too, like she did rice, dal, salt, soap, oil, and so on. Ration means a funny way of saying that Ju's mother shortened her name to so that Manju would not be used too often. In any case, she loved being called Ju because most people remembered it easily. There were some people who asked her if it was a Hindu, Christian, or Muslim name, and she replied, "It is just a name." Of course, there were size problems with the old dresses. Skirts were too tight or too long, and blouses were too large or too short. But Madhu, Ju's mother, would be beg Ali, with whom Ju's father had shared work, to alter them to suit Ju. Alter means make changes. Manju became Ju because that was the name that her mother used for her. Ju felt that her mother rationed her name too, like she did rice, dal, salt, soap, oil, etc. But Ju also loved her name because she felt that people remembered it easily. So, because it was a short name and easy to remember, everyone started calling her by it. One day, Ju was surprised when an old lady she knew stopped her in the street calling out to her. Lizzie, the old lady, had mistaken Ju for her granddaughter. When she found out it was Ju, she embraced her and said happily, of course, my eyesight isn't what it used to be. You are Madhu's daughter. You look so much like my granddaughter Lizzie in that dress. Ju told her grandmother, I'm wearing Lizzie's dress. Ho ho, the old lady said and gazed at Ju. Then she took Ju's hand in hers and said, God bless you. You are a beautiful girl. Ju asked her grandmother, should I walk with you to the church? No, I'm all right, she replied and slowly continued on her way, taking a look at everything and occasionally peering at a passer-by. Ju stood there, wondering why Lizzie's grandmother had called her beautiful. Nobody had called her that before. Ju always found little keepsakes of the previous owners sleeping in the pages of the books her mother brought. Keepsakes means things we preserve from the past that bring back memories. The old lady mistook Ju for her granddaughter. This was because Ju was wearing a dress that had once belonged to Lizzie. It might also be that Ju did look a little like Lizzie, or maybe they were close in age, so the old lady mistook her for her granddaughter. There were pictures of film stars, of football and cricket players, of singers, of gods and goddesses, dried flowers, peacock feathers, sometimes a little poem, and sometimes a prayer. Once Ju found a butterfly pressed between the pages of a geography textbook, dried up, brittled, and forlorn. Brittle means easily breakable, and forlorn means alone and unhappy. Some dust of its wings, colors, had rubbed off on the pages as if that was the last thing the butterfly had to give before folding them up forever. Then there were postage stamps. Each stamp was like a mystery speaking silently to her. She had never received a letter in her life. She had watched the postman passing their home and dreamt about his stepping into their yard with the letter in his hand. Nor had she or her mother written a letter. They had never bought a postal envelope, inland letter, postcard, or stamp. Sometimes she found unused stamps, but Ju couldn't think of using them to write to anybody but her father, but she knew he had no address. Dead people have no address. As usual, before school reopened, her mother had started bringing home books and dresses, and Madhu was so proud of Ju's moving up that when she took Ju to Ali to alter the old dresses, she couldn't wait till he began a conversation and announced to him proudly, "Do you know Alika? Ju is entering high school this year." Ali looked at Ju with kindly eyes, smiled, and said, "Of course, we will make sure that Ju has the best dresses for high school." When the other customers had gone and Madhu had opened the bundle of old clothes, Ali got his measuring tape, nodded his head vigorously, and said, "Study well, young lady." Vigorously means energetically. Jo couldn't believe that someone had called her young lady, and a wave of joy filled her. Then Ali said, "Jo's mother, this is Ramu's daughter, and Ramu has been taken from us. Let me give Ramu's daughter a small present." He pulled out some colorful fabrics from the shelf and spread them on his table. "You select what you like. If Ramu had been alive, you and your mother wouldn't have worn old clothes. You must wear new clothes to high school," he said. Madhu burst into tears even as she smiled. You stood staring at Ali, her mother, and the fabrics with disbelief. She was so surprised and happy she could dance. Ali's gift of new dresses came the day before school reopened. As Madhu held each dress against Ju's body, smiling and nodding her head, Ju breathed in the delicious scent of new clothes.